Right, that brings us to A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, Season 1, Episode 3, The Squire. Sir Duncan prepares for the tournament, and much more is revealed about Egg. Will, what did you think about this episode?
Oh, I really, 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 really enjoyed this episode. With the reveal, with just the story that Duncan, the relationship between Duncan and Egg. I just have to say, this kid, the Egg, really to me just is my one of my favorites. I mean, and having read the book now, and it feels like the character has this comes to life on that I read in the book comes to life on screen. And so with the reveal that we got this week, really, really, really enjoyed that. But also, I think the some of the class warfare that as far as we see that this show has been a day in the life of sort of the commoners in Westeros, and we see some of that on display with the Targaryens there at the tournament, and then yeah, and then also we learn more about Dunk as far as his character with some of the choices that he makes as far as whenever he was approached about throwing the joust. So really, really enjoyed this episode. I think it's probably, I mean, each week I could continue to enjoy this series more and more.
Okay, let's talk about Duncan the Joust, because I forgot about that. So he gets a proposition to basically to win a joust in return for money. So it's a payoff. It's a setup. Yeah. It is a victory, but it's a victory with an asterisk on, like, yeah, we will plan for this to happen, and he has to wrestle with that. And in my opinion, we never really get an answer. He declines, but he's constantly being seen the next day second guessing himself, and rightfully so, because at one point in this episode, Egg, who doesn't know about the proposition, even tells him in a different circumstance, like, you shouldn't let your ego get in the way. I think there's a line from Egg. I might be misquoting him, but so yeah, I think the irony of what they're doing with Duncan is really good. And I just I love Dexter Ansel as Egg. He's been great. He's a good child actor. But Peter Claffey is just stealing my attention every episode. Yeah. Because he is just so he's not dumb, but he ain't smart. Yeah, he's also he's very lovable, and there's a naivety, and there's also just this desire, and which I think is very relatable, of wanting something but not knowing how to get to it. And also trying to make the illusion, because you now have someone looking up to you, that, like, no, I know how to do this, because that's how we see a bit of the opening is where get my armor. Well, sir, that's not how this works. You cannot join the joust quite yet, and him having no idea. So I just, between that and then the conversation with, I do try to take really good notes, but please, people, keep in mind, I'm going to get people's names wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Sir Robin Risling. They have the conversation one-on-one, and we learn that Sir Robin's thoughts about the Targaryens. And
that's not. So Robin was I'll jump in real fast. So Robin was the one that Egg encountered at the beginning of the episode. This was Fossley. This is
Okay.
Raymond.
Yeah. Yeah. So whoever he was, we find out about just a glimmer about his opinion on the Targaryens.
Oh yeah.
And which is then visually, or not then, I'm getting things out of order. But is earlier on in the episode is this conversation takes place after we spent too much time talking about Fallout. I'm just tired now. But who's Egg's brother?
Aerion.
The one in the joust. Aerion.
Yeah.
Aerion kills a horse and the guy. So, anyways, we'll talk more about this episode because I'm tired. So go ahead.
No, it's fine. I'll give you a moment to collect your thoughts. So I to pick up your point about the Targaryens. This was it gets to my point when we first started talking about this episode, and really I think it really illustrates again how at this stage the dragons are gone, so the Targaryen whereas before the Raymond would probably not even dare to talk that way about the Targaryens, with especially when they could easily be in earshot, because you're just so worried that that you will be traitorous and you'll get literally killed for having those thoughts. But we see this when Aerion does kill the horse in the joust by having his lance too low, and then the crowd reaction to it. Think about in House of the Dragon, people in Westeros would probably be too afraid to challenge the Targaryens like that if they just abuse their power. Well, but here the crowd, whenever that happened and the horse fell on the knight and crushes his legs, and the people just start to revolt and really show their displeasure about what happened. I think it definitely illustrates how things are different and how the commoners view the Targaryens now that they don't have their dragons.
Yeah, but there's still fear because the Targaryens are still very much in power. So I agree to an extent that they are in the past, there would have been a dragon at the match. Whatever.
Yeah, that would not have happened. Yeah, that's my point.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's also, but then they see, and where I quiver, I guess, is just that even though they have that uprising, I don't know what you want to call it. They still end up later, Aerion still gets led into the puppet show. And he still manages to disrupt that. So I don't know. I don't know if there's as much fear, but I don't know.
Well, I think there is some because let's talk about. Think about the puppet show and the dragon losing, and and his response to it. Which leads to the whole thing where Dunk strikes him. Which again, could you imagine just a commoner striking like Daemon? And also, so I think
Duncan's reaction fits for who we're presented with. He doesn't understand the rules of this society. He's now placed into the society. So I think I think for him, it wasn't surprising to me that he had that reaction, knowing who he is for the last hour and a half of this story. And it also doesn't surprise me, like Aerion's reaction to the thing. But I think to your point, that puppet show wouldn't have happened like 50 years in the past, 200 years in the past, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So it would definitely happen in the future.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting thing, and that is one of the and yeah, I like how they do that, are doing that with the whole. We're talking about very large society issues, but at the same token, this show is a very simple telling about one hedge knight and a squire who just so happens to be Targaryen. Now, I know the question that, and I'm surprised Will has not asked me. I was not surprised by Egg being Targaryen.
Okay.
It was not a reveal to me. And now I do have an asterisk on this because there was, I think after I watched the first episode, I randomly and accidentally stumbled upon an AI generated TikTok video that alluded to him being a Targaryen. And so that seed was planted like all the way back then to me. So I don't know if because of watching that, I figured it out or not figured it out. I already had that in my mind, like that was going to be a thing. Or it was the fact that, in episode 2, we find out that one of the Targaryen princes, his sons are missing. And we met one of them drunkenly in the first episode. So we also know that Egg, like, he knows too much. I even said that last week. And then in this episode, there's the fortune teller scene. They should have not included that. That was a stupid note that did not need to be in there because, and I say that while knowing that was much less about the reveal and much more about the reason for Egg wanting to be in disguise in general. Like he doesn't like the Targaryen way, but he's very much is a Targaryen. So he has that conflict going on with him. Hence him shaking his head. So.
That So the fortune teller scene was added because so I agree that for me it did not add much. For me, I was wondering when we would get, given that how they have like shifted some things around from the most things are follow along with the novella, but I thought maybe we would get the reveal maybe in the 4th episode. So when we got it this week, and it plays out pretty much, pretty similar to how it played out in the book as well. And so I knew it was, so when I was very satisfied with the reveal because then I think part of it is how well acted Dexter and Peter they just nailed, they really did nail the actors and casting them to play these characters. So it was very satisfying to watch the scene and really just sort of enjoyed this the whole aspect of it. But I agree with you with the fortune teller. It just there were some additions, like even with the scene at the beginning with the open with Duncan, training training the horse. That was also a nice add. And yeah, so and of course they always have, I think we have to have some potty humor when had the horse step, shitting there at the beginning. So, we got our one little joke here at the beginning. I think that's just par for the course with this show now. But yeah, I
Well,
thought
it's
that was
also a joke involving a central character to the episode.
Yeah.
So it's like I wasn't like the horse shitting. I was just relieved it had nothing to do with Egg. Like I was like, no. Okay, leave the kid alone. Okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
So I think they did a smart route, but it'll be interesting next week as we go into episode 4, 5, and 6 about who that opening scene will be with and what will be the quote unquote joke. So
what that opening scene. So how did you read that scene? Did you take it as Egg training Thunder, or did you take it as he was just trying to sneak out of camp to pretend to be a knight?
People actually subscribe to B.
Some people do.
Interesting.
I don't, but
that didn't make any sense to me. I read it. Hey, like he was clearly training. If you subscribe to B, then please explain how Egg's decision at the end, because Egg could have let if that was true, if that was hypothetically, if that was true, that opening sequence was clearly Egg going off to play pretend knight. Okay. Then why at the end of the episode does he come clean about who he is, and he sacrifices his freedom that he desires to save the life of Duncan? Like it would not, motivationally that doesn't work for the character. I can see it as a kid, so he likes to play, but he was training. I mean, you get the whole speech about how what his father thinks about horses, and there was some motivational talking occurring between Egg and the horse. So I didn't really think that there was another way to interpret that.
I did see some chatter out there where some people did think that. So I wanted to get your sense of that. But to me it was very clear too that it was Egg was doing the training sequence. So
now, on one hand, if they interpreted it that way, they could have been very surprised when Egg revealed himself as a Targaryen at the end. So it could have worked in their favor for that interpretation.
Indeed.
In hindsight, the interpretation doesn't add up. Granted, I've had some weird interpretations, so we will see. Any other scenes that have had some interesting interpretations or some chatter that okay.
No, I mean, like I said, that was the one. The rest of it, though, like I said, it was the deviations. Overall, I thought the deviations from the novella worked, except for the fortune teller. But the others, I think, all really added to the show and added to the story.
Yeah. I think the only other thing I want to say about this show, and in talking about it these last few weeks, and knowing that we only got 3 more episodes left, and later this year we're going to return to Westeros, albeit in the past Westeros, with the House of Dragon. So season 2 of House of Dragon, we all know, and if you've been a long-term listener, you know, was not my favorite season. And by the end of it, I hated that season. To this day, I have my issues with that season. And it was very much a surprise of the year. It was not on my bingo card to despise season 2 of House of Dragon. But we also know how much I love season 1 of House of Dragon. I think that is an excellent season of television. Long live Viserys, okay? Okay, long live Viserys. So, and then Game of Thrones, There are seasons that stand out. There are seasons that are very disappointed. There are character arcs that are very disappointed. There are character arcs like you're just like, wow. And there are episodes, and it has its highs and its lows. And now we're at the third show in this universe, and I say it, love it or hate it, the conversation is still occurring. I don't get a sense of burnout. Arguably so far, and maybe this is premature, I don't know, but I feel as though out of a lot of the franchises, I'm talking your Star Wars, your Marvel, your DCU, this world of Westeros, they continue to mine it in some of the best ways, and also present us with originality, yet still tied to this world that we know, so it's still familiar. And it's really interesting, and it is, granted, like, again, there has been some low lows in this universe, and yet we keep coming back in our surprise when it's like, okay, I still like being here. I like this new story because it seems to be connected, but not fully connected to these other stories that I've heard before. Yeah. So I wanted to put that out there because in this time of franchises and going back to the same well, I find that so far Game of Thrones is doing it the best. And that may be premature, but that's just how I feel right now, being halfway through this third spinoff of this world.
Yeah. I hear you. I can't really, I'm still working my way through the, Game of Thrones, but I would agree with you, at least with House of the Dragon. They have definitely mined this universe very well, and bring a fresh perspectives for the franchise. So
yeah, and I know everyone talks about the Red Wedding from Game of Thrones, but the more I think about that show, there are other episodes that are underrated. So if you, like Will, have never seen it and think like some things aren't going to catch you off guard, no. There's some episodes people don't talk about. There's some stuff that happens. So anyway, we will be back in Westeros next week, along with we will start a return to Marvel with Wonder Man, at least the first half of that season that dropped recently. So on that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me on all the socials at Will and Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And I forgot to mention, y'all, and I'll talk more about this next time or at the end of February, because that's when the last 4 episodes come out. I did watch the first 4 episodes of season 4 of Bridgerton. Okay. Love it. And I want to say fuck Netflix for only doing the stupid episode drop schedule. No. Okay. I could have binged the full season in one sitting, y'all. But anyway, more on that later. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at SJ Belmont. And you can follow our crew there too, at Scene and Nerd on Blue Sky. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Threads at Scene_Ed_Nerd, and visit our website, www.sceneandnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, geek out. You're welcome.